What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Unplayable. I'm here with my good friends Jay and Jim. What's up, guys?
We made it. Hello.
We're talking about some spoilers today, Coach.
We have a whole boat full of them.
And I promise you, as soon as we finish, there's going to be like 10 more.
Yep,
That's
100%.
normally how this plays out. Absolutely.
100%. So anytime you want new spoilers, just ask us to make a spoiler video. And you're good.
Literally.
So what we're going to do is just go through as many as we can here. And I don't know, there's like a million. So we're going to start with This Is the Way. It's a 2-cost hero event. It's Mandalorian traded, which is pretty cool. Search the top 8 cards of your deck for up to 2 Mandalorian and or upgrade cards. Reveal them and draw them. Put the other cards on the bottom of your deck in a random order. Jay, I'm going to hit you first. What do you think about this?
I mean, I like that they are doing Mandalorian tribal synergy. That's always like super fun. And I think Mandalorians in general are very like in right now in the Star Wars kind of like fandom. So that's cool. The artwork looks sick. His shiny armor.
The shiny helmet. I'm now realizing it's like the armorer's like
the
forge in the
armor.
back there.
Yep.
So sick.
Nice.
And tutor cards are always nice. And this is basically pay 2 to draw 2 cards from the top 8 cards that you want to draw.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
How does this compare to Prepare for Takeoff? That's also 8 cards and it's 2 vehicles for 2?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe so.
But it's a green card.
And it doesn't get played.
But this card says and or upgrade cards, and I think that's where this might actually get played. Because it gives you the flexibility of if you need a unit, you can grab some units. If you need to buff what you currently have, it's got a little bit more flexibility, and I think plays well into what this set's trying to do. That I definitely want to give it a shot. I think in a Mandalorian deck, obviously I want to try to just make a Voltron and see what happens. So I could see it being cool.
This is probably better than Prepare for Takeoff because historically, or at least in set 1, vehicles aren't like super impactful yet. And I think Mandalorians might be a little more impactful. Plus this, like you said, gives you flexibility of Mando or an upgrade. I do wish it costs 1 though. Like Recruit
1 would be
sees
nice.
play because it costs 1. And this
you only get
2.
1 card off of Recruit though. So
I almost would rather
you do
pay 1 for 1 than pay 2 for 2.
I think it depends entirely on what I do think it's going to hinge on what the upgrades are. Personally, like what the upgrade cards are and how many of those cost 0, because there's already one we know of that costs 0. So it's like if you can basically pay 1, draw 2, and then you'll be able to like not spend any more resources but play those other 2 cards in the same turn. That could be really good. Okay, so I think we pretty much said everything we want to about this card.
Yep.
We're going to see a bunch more Mandalorians like in this set and in the next 5 minutes as we go through all these spoilers.
5 minutes? You mean the next 45 minutes?
Next 50 minutes. So, just keep this card in mind, I guess.
D-House isn't here. Maybe it won't take us long.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, in that vein, we're going to move on to Pike Sentinel, which is a 2-cost blue villain ground unit. It's a 2/3 with the Underworld trait and Sentinel. So this is the current cheapest Sentinel in the game.
Yeah.
I like this. I think this is going to go in a lot of blue villain decks.
Very cool.
This is a very good card. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I mean,
it's tough to elaborate, but yeah, having that turn 1, you don't get to hit my face is so sweet.
Does it? Okay, consider a scenario where you're playing aggro. And let's say you're playing Green Sabine. I mean, we can only really talk in the context of like decks that exist now. So like, I'm sure many other decks will exist when set 2 comes out, but we can talk about right now the sets that or the cards and decks that exist currently. So Sabine Green, like turn 1, if they're, I guess if they're going second, it's a little worse for them. But like if they go first, they play their 2-cost. Your opponent plays this as their 2-cost, and then they can ECL like a 3/4 into this and kill it and still get through with their 2-drop. Like how much does this really slow down your opponent, I guess is the question I'm asking.
I mean, you'd have a Death Trooper probably following up with it. Like that's what I immediately think is my turn 2 play. You also, if you have ECL yourself because you're also playing green, there's ways to kind of swing back into it. So it definitely helps. It's not going to be like, okay, aggro's dead because this card exists. Good.
Sure. It's just like nice to have another roadblock, basically.
Yeah.
I think that like even not even having to play this on turn 1, like later in the game, having a 2-cost Sentinel can be like pretty impactful.
Can slot in different resource configurations.
And then I guess with like ping, like having 2 attack kind of stinks, But if you're playing Vader or if you're playing Palpatine, then you have, or if there's any other leaders that come out, like we're going to see here shortly, which is a hero, but obviously I think they're going to have more ping style leaders. The 2 damage comes in fine because of leaders that can also ping units. So yeah, I think this is still good even with ECL.
Makes sense. Okay, I buy all that. Let's move on to the next card, which is a very spicy one. This is Dr. Evazan. Dr. Evazan is a 2-cost ground unit, yellow and villain, and he's a 3/3 underworld and shielded, has the bounty ready up to 12 resources. So
yeah, this dude is spicy.
we have to first acknowledge the theme, which is awesome, right? He's wanted in 12 systems. When you defeat him, he gives your opponent 12 resources. That I love that.
Are you getting one? You're getting one payment for each of the 12 systems.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
This kind of a lot has been said about this guy so far. He kind of encapsulates aggro in like one card, right? Where it's super early advantage and super late game disadvantage. So finding ways to use this guy and not give your opponent the bounty is going to be pretty important when you're playing this. I think it's kind of sick though.
Yeah. What are the fastest villain decks right now? I mean, IG-88 is technically trying to go fast, but that hasn't felt amazing. And then honestly, Boba Fett can play fast.
Yeah.
So I think this does give some flexibility to start looking into what does aggressive villain look like, that I do like to see. But that is a huge downside if they're able to like kill this on their terms. So you have to really figure out how to get this to where it doesn't really like hurt you too much.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like if you can mitigate the bounty, right? Like mitigate the downsides of that, I think it's really good. Or if you can just kill them before it matters, that's another way that you can use this. And I mean, I don't know if there isn't a more aggressive card in the game yet. Like a 2-cost 3/3 is already like crazy. Then put a shield on it.
The 1-cost ship. Oh, that's like a.
Oh, sure. The cartel. The
turncoat.
The turncoat, yeah, the cartel turncoat, the 1-cost 2/3 ship, yeah, maybe. I love what this gives to villain aggro. I think this is gonna be crazy in Boba yellow at the very least. Like this is a lot of damage that's hard to deal with. There are things that can absolutely wreck you, like you're playing into. Well, I'll use the same exact example, the Sabine Green that like ECLs at Fighters for Freedom into this. Because it goes through the shield and then they get to ready all the resources that they spent on the Fighters for Freedom, and they still survive. So like there is counterplay to this card, obviously, but a 2-cost 3/3 with a shield is like very strong. That's your
Grand Inquisitor yellow. You'd be able to ready this thing without damaging it.
Ooh.
Yeah, twice. You can ready this twice total.
Yep,
that's pretty sweet. So I think there's gonna be a lot here. Yeah, for this card, I think that people are gonna see a lot of this.
And you can kind of decide when he dies with Grand Inquisitor. If you're able to get him to like damaged, you can just immediately kill him, so your opponent doesn't get to do what you're saying is take advantage of the bounty.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shield alone is like so valuable too. With like you've surprise strike with this and you hit for 6 and you don't die. Like there's so many uses for a shield. But all right, we've talked about this card enough. Let's move on to the next one, which is Follower of the Way. It's a 2-cost blue ground unit. It's a 1/3 Mandalorian, and while this unit is upgraded, it gets +1/+1.
That includes experience or shields.
Yep.
So if you give this guy 1 experience, he goes from a 1/3 to a 3/5.
3/5. That's wild. That's good.
Which is pretty cool.
Is it? I'm struggling on this one.
I don't know if it's good.
Well,
like,
yeah, 3/5 for 2 is good.
Well,
It'd
yeah, but
probably
you have
be
to
a 3
do a
cost,
lot
right?
to make that happen.
Like
Yeah,
you're probably
probably
spending at least 1.
I'm not saying
get the-
I'm not passing judgment on the card. I'm just saying that if you have a shield on it, giving an extra +1/+1 is also good, or having an experience token on it, getting extra stats is always good.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? I don't think the shield is actually very good because we already have a 3-cost 2/4 shielded that does NC play. So like giving this a shield, it's probably costing you a resource. So then it's essentially a 3-cost 2/4 with a shield, which is something that doesn't see play right now. So
what if the shield
giving
comes
it
from your base?
Maybe.
Maybe
Security complex.
It's probably
it's
not
trash though. So I think the only way this is good if you're actually putting an upgrade that's an experience or another upgrade on it, right?
I could see it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm probably not going to try too hard to make this card work. It's like,
I feel like
And
the
the
upside's
1/3
worth doing. Like play set, like
Maybe.
put snapshot reflexes on this. No,
That's a lot better, right?
now it's a 3/5 that attacks immediately. Like
I mean,
that's
sure,
pretty
but
good.
1/3 stat line on its own just does nothing.
Yeah, but you don't play this in a deck where like it's just
You're
gonna
not
be
playing
a
upgrades.
1/3 on its own.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Like you, if this goes in a deck, it's because it's built around you playing upgrades on your stuff.
Yeah, I guess I'm stuck on like Guardian of the Wills being the 2/2 that you're like, oh, it has.
Well, that's way
force
worse
and-
than this. Like,
Is it?
I think a 1/3 is way better than a 2/2.
Yes. I
Like,
agree.
especially if your goal
Okay.
is to put upgrades on the card.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that one just has other things to it to like make upgrades cost less, but I don't know. I'm not sold on the card yet, but maybe I'll be proven wrong.
I don't think it's like the best card in the world. I just think that there's, like there are cool interactions that are worth exploring. I'm not writing this off.
I mean, 3 cost 3/5 is good. Like, if you can make this a 3 cost 3/5, it's literally just Boba Fett legendary. Because Boba Fett's legendary, his ability like never comes into play anyway. So
I guess even just
the
to have
reason he's
something
good is the 3/5.
to put an upgrade on is good, because that's the issue with like a lot of the upgrade style decks is if you don't have units on board, you have like blank cards in your hand.
Sure.
So
It's also Mandalorian traded, so that is useful for quite a few things that we'll see.
Yep.
All
Next
right.
card.
Next card, we got IG-11. It's a 5-cost red ground unit. It is a 6/5 droid bounty hunter. If this unit would be captured, defeat him and deal 3 damage to each enemy ground unit instead. On attack, you may deal 3 damage to a damaged ground unit. A lot going on
I
here.
mean,
such a fun flavor.
it is interesting that it's very specifically calling out if he gets captured. So it's basically saying it might as well just say this
Yeah,
unit
don't
can't be
capture
captured, right?
Yeah, unless there are cards that like force your opponent to capture your own cards.
Yeah.
That'd be a weird card to
Interaction.
make, but right. Yeah, it's like in what world would your opponent ever choose to capture this guy? It's
They
very
probably wouldn't.
flavorful and fun, but I think if we just look at it as a 6/5 on attack, you can deal 3 damage to a damaged ground unit. Like, okay, that's still probably fine.
I have an issue with anything that costs 5 or more that only has 5 health, just generally, because takedown costs 4 and kills it. So you're like down a resource from that. But I do think there's probably play for this guy. I mean, coming out and sticking, dealing 6 damage plus the 3 extra, I mean, that's kind of sick.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about it.
I have a hard time I don't know, imagining where this fits really well. I think you do want it to be in a deck where you're like dealing a bunch of incidental damage to things, and your opponent's units just like have damage on them for some reason. Because as just like other than that, on attack, like it feels like just a vanilla like 5 cost 6/5.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're not getting value out of that second part, the on attack is probably not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does seem like red is getting more ping options, so that's where I was at least seeing some potential in this one.
Makes sense. All right, let's move on to Spare the Target. It is a 3-cost event, yellow hero. Return an enemy non-leader unit to its owner's hand. Collect that unit's bounties.
So we have a heroic Waylay that also has an extra benefit. And Waylay already sees play, and I think Waylay's already pretty good. So
Yeah.
I think this card's probably good. Like, it can go into a Sabine deck or I guess any heroic deck that's running for a cause as well. And it doesn't wreck the 4 cause being a 3 hit. So I think this card's pretty good, especially if you're playing bounties. I think if you can play a bounty on something and then play this, collect those bounties, and then, yeah, I think that's pretty sick.
Yeah, or I mean, because the cards that have bounty printed on them typically have been favoring the aggressive style of play. Like, hey, you're getting these early benefits to it, but then you're gonna get hit for it later. So this just stalls out those game plans anyway. So it's like,
Yeah,
I'll
I mean,
probably put
this
in
on the
sideboards.
doctor already.
Yeah, you
it's
just
like
play
a
it for free.
free
Yeah.
bounce on the doctor.
You immediately get that back. So there's a lot of cool pieces there.
There's one other thing to, I guess, point out that Waylay does that this doesn't, and that's Waylay lets you bounce your own cards.
Ooh.
This only lets you bounce your opponent's cards. So this probably still really good, but just something to like note as a difference between the two. But yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. We're gonna move on to a leader.
Ooh.
I think this is the first non-starter deck leader that we've seen
Let's
so far
go.
for this set. So we've got Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan is a red hero leader. She has the action. Well, obviously she's Mandalorian traded, and she has an action exhaust her. If you attacked with a Mandalorian unit this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit, which is pretty sweet. And then she flips at 6 resources and is a 4/7 Mandalorian traded, of course. And on attack, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If you attacked with another Mandalorian unit this phase, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. So lots of damage being thrown around here.
Yeah, more ping, like I was mentioning earlier. And if you pair this with IG-11, then you're doing some incidental damage that you might be able to trigger him with. I think this is pretty sick. 4/7 coming out on 6. Is that good? That's about on par with everything so far, right?
I think it's like reasonable.
Yeah.
What is Luke?
Almost more than a 4/7 because she can, she has on attack.
Right.
Luke is a 4/7.
Luke's 4/7, but he gives a shield. She pings the damage.
Yeah. But then I look at like Boba Fett comes out on 5/4/7.
Well, yeah, he's an aberration.
Sure.
How easy? So she basically, go back to the leader side real quick.
Yeah.
It's a free ability, which is pretty sick.
Yeah,
but
I do love that.
Don't get to use it until turn 2 if you played a Mandalorian on turn 1, and it sticks to be able to attack. So I'm wondering how easy it is to actually like ping this damage or not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because like you have to think about the types of lines that you can take where like you use your turn 1 unit to like attack into what your opponent played on their second turn and then ping it. And like if it has, like if you played a 3/2, you attacked with it, like you can kill like a 4 health unit on that same turn. Or you could do, other things. It's like if you play your unit on turn 1, hit them and then deal a little bit of damage to their unit. So then when they try to trade into you, they die or something like that. Like I think there's going to be a lot to consider with a leader like this. And the fact that it's free means that like there's not a lot of setup that you have to do other than like play Mandalorians in your deck, which you're probably already doing.
Yeah.
If you're playing this type of deck, like I think it's going to hinge on whether or not Mandalorians are just like good or not, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I like this if there's ever like a shield meta where like that's just actually easy to do. Just all of that ping damage just pops those so you can actually trade in. But it seems like a lot of math, and I like math, but other people don't. So
it's very mid-rangey, and thinking about this deck like a deck for this character right now in the meta that we're in with Blue Vaders, it's like you're never triggering this ability.
Oh, sure.
Because they don't play units, and you're probably not sticking Mandalorians to be able to attack anyway. So I don't know how good it would be into that.
It's probably bad against that type of strategy for sure.
Right. Definitely. So I want to see what other cards come out that support this deck.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's move on to First Light.
Here we go.
This card's
Such
sweet.
Cool art.
Yeah, this is a 7-cost space unit. It is a blue villain card. It's a 4/7 underworld vehicle transport, and it has grit, and each other non-leader unit also gains grit. And it also has a smuggle ability, so you can smuggle it for 7 resources, plus the vigilance and villainous aspect, and as an additional cost, deal 4 damage to a friendly unit.
So you have to be able to pay that cost to be able to flip this character or this unit out, which is kind of interesting. So
Very
if
cool.
you don't have a unit on board, you literally can't do this. But I'm trying to think. So obviously this is a villain card, but if you could play this in a Chewbacca deck and flip Chewbacca and then play this as a smuggle cost and deal 4 damage to him so that he's a buffed unit plus have this out, it's kind of sick.
Yeah.
But dealing the 4 damage is actually really cool because it gives your other units grit. So
yeah, you just need like any big butt unit, right? Like even like Jabba. Yeah. Like that's probably not very good, but like you could do it. It's also only 4 damage, so like you could, I don't know, if you have a 5 health dude, you do this, you give them 4 attack and get to play this. Like that seems pretty good.
What's crazy is the smuggle cost is the same cost as its actual cost.
Yeah.
So you're not
minus the deal 4 part.
Minus the deal 4, but good players take downsides and make them upsides. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's almost better to play this as a smuggle, which I think is the first card we've seen that it's better to play it as a smuggle, except maybe like the hot shot blaster or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think this card's really cool. I'm excited to play it. Like you can build whole decks around this card.
Totally.
And the fact that you can smuggle it means that you can draw it early and pretty much guarantee that you'll have it for your combo later in the game.
You do this with Vader, right? And you flip Vader, and then you play this, deal 4 damage to your Vader.
Well, he doesn't get the
non-leader
grit.
unit.
Non-leader.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Killed that dream for you.
That text.
Chewbacca already has grit, so that's why I was thinking about it.
I'm blind to that text on most cards, so.
That's funny. But like you all were saying, with the smuggle ability, it seems like the late game smuggle cards probably have a little bit easier time like justifying, because you're like, oh, I was gonna resource this anyway.
Sure.
So it just gives me some more value. So if you already like this card as a 7 cost 4/7, it's just that much better with the flexibility of smuggle.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about smuggle in general, I think, is like if there's a card that costs 1 and you smuggle it and it costs 3 when you play it, that means it costs 3 times more as it does normally. Mm-hmm. Whereas like if it costs 2 more as a 7 cost card, it's not that big of a jump from 7 to 9
right.
if you're already at that point in the game. So that is interesting to consider about smuggle in general. But yeah, I'm sure there's some like pretty crazy things that you can do with this and stuff like that. So let us know in the comments like what your favorite idea is for how to make this card awesome.
I got a hyper foil version of that card too. It's gonna look.
Oh, it's gonna be so sick. I love the art on that card so much. All right, moving on to Gentle Giant.
Yes.
Gentle Giant is a 6 cost ground unit. It's a blue hero card. It's a 2/8 Wookiee with grit, and on attack, you may heal damage from another unit equal to the damage on this unit.
For those who are in our Discord, which shout out, join our Discord. You get secret unedited videos, and I stream in there during the day pretty consistently playing games of Star Wars Unlimited, so you get to watch me stink at this game and stink it up. But I've been playing double blue Chewbacca, and this slot's right in there, coach.
Oh, yeah.
Right in there. Yeah, this is cool. I'm ready for Wookiee synergy.
Yeah.
That's what it's just fun. Like, I'm so glad that they just added some Wookiees in here that don't have to just be Chewbacca. I don't know if they're going to go all out with the Wookiee synergy, but it's just cool.
Who's your favorite non-Chewbacca Wookiee, Jim?
We don't need to. I can't identify another one.
There's just too many.
His son's name is?
Chewbacca?
Yeah.
I didn't know he had a son.
Oh my gosh. Have you not seen
I have actually
the holiday special?
That's yeah, that's one of the things that I'm most ashamed of, is that I've never watched the holiday special.
I don't even know how to pronounce the name of his son. It's Lumpa something. Lumpa Waru is his name.
I love it.
Lumpa.
That one's not my favorite, but it's up there, top 20 at least.
And he has a wife too. Just an FYI. Okay. For those who don't know Star Wars,
like
Chewbacca has a son and a wife. Just a heads up.
All right, well, GG.
Anyway, this is literally what Jim was just talking about. With Jabba coming out with the first light, he's a 2/8 with grit. This is a 2/8 with grit. So just play this.
Yeah, and then
you don't have to do that combo.
It's heroic, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's better, right? I may have converted to being a hero player.
Yeah.
It's an FI blue hero.
Oh yeah, with
you.
this card and with blue Chewbacca.
Before
you've been playing Sabine Yellow.
Yeah, and I'm definitely still on Sabine Yellow, but
Jason is slow decline to be a mill player, is what I'm hearing.
I've been having fun with blue Chewie. Okay, I may have milled a Krennic.
Sweet.
I may have milled a Krennic.
All right. Yeah. Well, you're obligated to stay in that lane forever now. All right. Anybody else have thoughts on this card?
Cool card. I like grit a lot. This having 8 health is, I get to go all out with grit.
It's a lot of health.
And that's fun.
What do you guys think about the on attack ability, the healing?
I wonder if that comes into play. Like, you play this on 6, 7, you flip Chewbacca. They're forced to swing into it, or you swing into one of their guys, and then you're able to heal Chewbacca up before they can kill him. Maybe
could be cool.
That's fine.
Does this? Can you do cool things with Chirrut in this?
Oh, for sure, right?
What if you like? Oh, okay, all right. You play Chirrut. You have some damage on Chirrut. You play this. You play binds. You move damage from your Chirrut to this, and then you heal even more damage from your Chirrut, and this has grit. That's actually
awesome.
fun.
It's pretty spicy.
That's awesome.
So
I was over here like, oh, I guess I could force throw and damage myself, but you're actually thinking smart things.
Every once in a while.
That's pretty spicy.
That sounds like a lot of fun. All right, let's move on to the next card. We've got Pirate Battle Tank. It is a 6-cost unit. It's a ground unit. It is a green villain card, and it's a 4/6 underworld vehicle tank with Sentinel and Smuggle for 7. So only one more resource to smuggle this.
Yeah, which is totally, I think, viable. The early smuggle cards we saw where I think there was a big disparage between its actual cost and the smuggle cost that it didn't feel good. They were also just like kind of bland units because I guess they were all neutral anyway. This one's a villain and it's a little bit better. I think this one is actually like fringe playable.
Yeah, having like a potential to play a Sentinel whenever you want is sweet. Like it gets around forced surrender shenanigans against like control options. So there's a lot of ways where it's like, okay, if I just need that thing that can block, I have this available.
If we get like a Underworld Matters or Vehicle Matters kind of deck, then this slots in there pretty well, I think.
Or Tank Matters. Don't forget Tank.
Oh yeah. I think we'll have to be way down the road, 100 sets in playing a version of the game that
There's
is
gonna
not
be
no
some like
rotation.
General Veers leader that's like Tank
is-
Synergy.
Twin Sons product only,
Yeah.
I'm certain.
Yes.
Exactly.
I can't wait.
In like 10 years, someone builds a deck that's all tanks.
Yeah. I think this card is cool. Like, I think playing this for 7 is sometimes reasonable. I like that it's, like you can pair this with Piet and ambush it in, which is pretty sweet. And it's in that color. Also, not related to what the card does, but the art is from, I'm pretty sure, an episode of the Clone Wars where, this is like part of Hondo's crew, which is really sick. Makes me
nice.
very hopeful that we'll see Hondo in this set because I love
That'd
Hondo.
be cool. That'd be cool.
And I think that's pretty much all there is to say about this card. I don't know, Jimmy, you have anything to add here?
No.
Yeah. All right.
Y'all got it.
Sweet. Let's go to the next one. We've got Clone Deserter.
Oh, I love the artwork on this one.
Yeah, this one's really sick in a lot of ways.
The shadows are awesome.
This is a 1-cost ground unit. It is a green hero card, and it is a 2/3 fringe clone with Restore 1 and Bounty Draw card. So
it's basically the
1-cost
same as
2/3
the
Restore 1.
Turncoat, except has the Restore 1. The
Yeah.
Turncoat doesn't have anything besides the
I don't
fact it's
think
a space unit, right?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty sick. I mean,
That's pretty
if
sweet.
you are going Sabine green and you just like go 2 of these guys turn 1, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
Kind of
I like
sick.
to slot in like Luke Skywalker as well for that turn 1. Give it a shield.
Oh yeah, that's sweet too. That is sweet. There's like, so it's not a rebel, and
No, it's not.
Feels like a lot of the cheap cards that you want in at least the aggro decks that currently exist, you want them to be rebels so they can get buffed by Wing Leader and Fleet Lieutenant.
Sure.
But the stats don't lie, and it's a 2/3 with Restore 1 for 1. I wonder if this is like a good anti-aggro card where you're not paying that many resources for it. It's restoring every turn. The bounty maybe doesn't mean as much against an aggro deck as it would against like a longer game deck. I mean, sometimes you draw your opponent into 4 costs and then you die. But ideally, this trades with something and restores you along the way. But I don't know. I think that like the stats on this mean that it's going to be played. Like people are going to find a way to play this card and make it good, right? Like
Pretty sick.
yeah.
What does it mean exactly by Clone Deserter, do you think?
I think he's done fighting, and he's deserted the war.
Now
Is
he's
this
just
like-
here to heal.
Is this during the Clone Wars?
So I remember an episode of the Clone Wars where there was like, there was a clone that deserted and was like, living on some planet and he had a wife or whatever. So I don't know if this is
Kinda
that
like
guy.
a homage to that.
Maybe. I kind of remember in the live stream them saying that this is like after like the Clone Wars, but I don't remember if that's true.
Fair.
I could be making that up or not. I don't know.
Because it makes me
someone let
wonder,
us know in
like,
the comments.
is it still heroic if he deserted? You know
Maybe.
what I mean?
Maybe it's extra heroic. He was like, I'm not
That's
fighting
fair.
this stupid war.
Or he took his chip out.
Yeah. If this is post Clone Wars, it would make more sense if that is true. If he's just like, I'm not fighting with the Empire. Like, could be. But
Interesting.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yep.
Yeah, if y'all are getting to lore, I'm definitely ready to move on.
All right. Well, this one is real spicy. So we've got Reputable Hunter. It's a 3-cost ground unit. It's just green, and it's a 3/4 bounty hunter. If an enemy unit has a bounty, this costs 1 less to play.
All right, hear me out. Hear me out.
Yeah,
There's a
let's hear it.
0-cost bounty, right?
There are. Yeah.
Turn 1, you're going second. They drop their 2 costs. You put a 0 cost bounty on it. You play this guy for 2.
Yeah, I love it.
Easy money.
Even
2
better.
costs, 3, 4.
Even better. Your opponent plays their clone deserter. You play this for 2.
Fair.
You don't even need to do anything.
Yeah.
You just
Easy.
sit back, let your opponent make the mistake.
Or they play the doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Evazan.
And it's like it doesn't even trade into this guy.
Yeah. Nasty.
All things
I think this guy's good.
I feel like with it being a vanilla card though, outside of like it costs less, like I probably only want it in like an aggressive deck, kind of similar to like Battlefield Marine. Like it's really good stats, but it's still just stats.
Stats are good though.
In green, it definitely is, because that seems to be where things have a little bit better stats than other aspects. It's probably fine, but it's still vanilla.
I feel like it's like the stats are so good if you get to play it for 2 that it's kind of like Steadfast Battalion, where it doesn't matter if it has tribal synergy with what you have in your deck. You just play it because
you just play it because the stats are good. I think like at the very least, like this is a sideboard option against aggressive decks that are playing the bounty like cheap units, because those units are very powerful. So like they're going to see play, and if you can answer their 1 cost 2/3 with a 2 cost 3/4, like you're feeling pretty good. So I like this card quite a bit. And if there are other ways to give your opponent's units bounties, and like cheap bounty cards that you can play, like.
What does the 0 cost bounty do?
When you collect the bounty, you ready 2 resources.
All right, here you go.
Yeah,
0 cost bounty. You ECL this guy into their thing, and then also play another 2 costs.
Ooh, I love it.
All on turn 1.
That's so sick.
They instantly concede.
That's so sick. That's really good. I mean, yeah, wow. Yeah, that's sick. Awesome. All right, let's move on to the next card, which is Take Captive. It's a 3-cost green event. It's a tactic. A friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena.
Oh, I don't know about
What do we
this
think
card.
about this?
I need to see capture play out to try to even evaluate how good is capturing, because capturing removes their unit from the board temporarily. You can collect bounties if it's a unit with bounties on it, but the moment your unit dies, they get that unit back.
Yeah,
So
if
that's
your
where
unit leaves play at all.
Though.
Sure. It's still like I just need to see it play out before I can really evaluate like how strong is capturing, how relevant is that going to be in this game. I think it's a cool idea for sure. It's hard for me to wrap my head around like what is it doing, I guess.
I kind of think this is really good. Like you are only paying 3, and if you're playing this card, you're not just like putting your opponent's unit under a unit that you have that's immediately going to die, right? Like, even if you do that, though, at worst, this is a card that's like exhaust a unit and force your opponent to kill your unit instead of like hitting you or something like that. So I don't think the worst case scenario is even that bad, but it also lets you capture any non-leader unit in the arena. So it's like if you have, I don't know, like Dr. Evazan, like a 2-cost 3/3 with a shield, he can, capture your opponent's like Vader or whatever, and now you're, they have to get through the shield and get through the unit. It only costs 3. It's like all the other cards that are, answers that I guess like maybe this is most similar to Waylay, where it costs 3, it's temporarily removing a card. Your opponent has to sort of sink resources into getting it back onto the board.
Yeah, rather than repaying the resources, just play it again, they have to figure out a way to kill your thing. Which I like that I can have my leader capture their thing, because there's so many cards that say like defeat a non-leader unit. That's probably where I'm looking at it, but
is Chirrut really good with capture because he doesn't die?
Totally.
You just put your opponent's units under Chirrut and then just keep him healthy forever.
It's interesting for sure, and I do think like if Waylay's already good, capturing with the ability to like also just keep getting their bounties is pretty sweet.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Jay?
I think just like depending on how good the bounties are, it will determine if this card's good. I think in most cases, paying 3 for a Waylay is gonna probably just be better than playing this, unless you're also playing bounties in your deck to make this actually useful.
Yeah, I like this against like Fire Spray because it comes in exhausted afterwards too. It's like your opponent pays 6 for Fire Spray, you capture their Fire Spray, then they have to like spend resources killing whatever captured it, and then once they finally get it back, it is exhausted. They don't get to attack with it right away. I don't know. I think there's cool stuff you can do with this. But let's move on to the next one, which is Ketsu Onyo, a 2-cost red hero ground unit. She is a 3/2 Mandalorian underworld bounty hunter. Lots of tags there. Saboteur. And when this unit deals combat damage to a base, you may defeat an upgrade that costs 2 or less.
More heroic 2-cost red saboteur things that deal 3 damage.
This
I'm
one's hero.
always happy.
This one's heroic, so 4-cause likes this.
Exactly. I would totally slot this in my deck right now because Entrench exists.
Yeah.
Being able to and when they entrench your Sabine leader, just being able to swing into their base and pop it off feels like it would be really good.
Mm.
I would rather play this than play Fang Fighters, except obviously Fang Fighters is when played, so they have a chance to react to this. But I don't know, I think it's still probably pretty good. Downside is make an opening.
Yeah.
Stinks.
Yeah. 3/2s can be tough.
Every 3/2 in the game. But yeah, I do love the bounties are upgrades. So if bounties are really popular, you can just pop all the bounties off that they're trying to put on you.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like that. Also, obviously, shields and upgrades shields and experience are upgrades as well, and they cost less than 2. So,
Yep.
I was gonna ask about that because it doesn't technically have a cost since it's a token.
they cost
I would
0.
assume-
Yeah.
The
Cool.
tokens at the
They have
top
a-
left have a cost of 0.
Sweet. I've been so used to just using the physical
the die,
tokens that I
yeah.
can't remember that.
Specials have a value of 0. Tokens have a cost of 0. It's a deep cut.
Yeah, real deep cut. Cool. Yeah, I don't know if there's too much more to say about this. A lot of potentially relevant traits, including Mandalorian alongside Bo-Katan. So that's pretty cool. All right, moving on to Night Owl Skirmisher, which is a 3-cost red hero ground unit. And it's a 4/3 Mandalorian trooper with smuggle. You got to pay 5 for it.
Okay. I mean, it's the same cost as the Echo-based Defender, same stat line, except this gives you the option to smuggle it. I think it's probably pretty good. It is a Mandalorian. It's also a trooper, which is cool for the trooper synergies that we've seen so far. What's
Precision
the one?
fire, right?
Precision fire, stuff like that. And I mean, it costs 2 more for the smuggle ability, but sometimes that card advantage as an aggro player is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you resource this early, and your opponent doesn't even know that they have to play around something. They think your hand's empty. It could be good. I don't know. Swoop Racer is sometimes played in Boba Fett decks, and this is basically the same thing with upside. So,
Yeah.
I feel like this is mostly a limited card because it just gives you more flexibility in those limited games with a much smaller deck size. But like you all already said, having the card advantage because you're essentially just having an extra card in hand every time you smuggle is nice.
for sure. All right, let's move on to Clan Challengers. 5-cost red ground unit. It's a 3/6 Mandalorian trooper with raid 3, and while this unit is upgraded, it gains overwhelm.
I thought this said Avengers a symbol. I was confused.
I mean, the art on this is sick.
It's
Oh
so
yeah,
cool.
it's amazing. All right, who's going to bring up the obvious synergy with this card? Which is
Well, who plays Grand Inquisitor the most? Jim?
maybe you.
Probably.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe Jim.
I think
I play a lot
Jim.
of Grand Inquisitor.
I don't.
Yeah, it's nasty with raid 3. Don't get me wrong. I love the overwhelm on there too. So
Yep, I'm ready. This guy. He still has 4 health left. Swings for 6. Seems pretty good.
Flip Grand Inquisitor, attack with Grand Inquisitor, ready this guy again. That's what, 15 damage?
yeah, because Seven Sisters already so cool in that deck because of when it deals damage, you deal 3 to a ground unit. The fact that this is just all aggro straight to their face is
real good.
sweet. It doesn't have Saboteur though, so it does get blocked by Sentinels.
It can gain overwhelm.
all of the
though.
other pieces. Yeah.
Gains overwhelm.
It can. I mean, play the shield base, right? Like if you're playing Grand Inquisitor blue, you play this. You bring it out, you ready it, you put a shield on it, you attack with overwhelm, kill their sentinel, flip Grand
Bada bing,
Inquisitor,
bada
do it
boom.
again, bada bing,
Give
bada
this
boom,
grit.
like-
Still has raid 3.
Yeah, there you go.
but
Exactly.
Grand Inquisitor can get very fast, very quickly, and
I
I
think-
think very well turn into the aggro
Yeah.
villain deck.
Stuff like this, I think, is going to push it towards that because, I mean, that's literally 15 damage in one turn if you play this the turn that Grand Inquisitor comes out and they can't deal with it.
Stonks.
That's nuts. That's a lot of damage.
Stonks.
That's a lot. There are just going to be some games where your opponent just doesn't draw into a hand where they can deal with this.
Yep.
Right.
And
The
then
fact that I
Steal the
could
game.
Yeah.
reasonably think of like, okay, I just stop them from doing everything until I get to that turn, and then just kill them in one turn. Like, sorry,
That
bud.
sounds pretty fun. Like,
I would like it.
Yeah.
I would lose a lot of friends, but I would like it.
who needs friends when you're winning games with Grand Inquisitor by OTKing them?
That's right.
I think this is a totally like viable 5 cost. There's not very many, but
Yeah.
this has 6
Yeah.
health, so it doesn't get takedowned.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use Vanquish on it. It's not easily killed. It's got the raid 3. I think this this is a very good 5 cost. I think.
It's also just like a decent ECL target, which we've.
Yeah.
I mean, we
For
brought that card up
sure.
a couple times, but it's just like it's just 5 and attacks for 6. Like that's pretty good, and probably doesn't die back. So lots to like about this card.
Doesn't require your leader to be out. So it's 1 less. It's
Yeah.
6 instead of 7, but you also have 6 health.
Yeah.
I think this is this
sweet
card's
card.
good.
I'd say
It's a
we're
sweet
over here
card.
like, this might be like a sleeper card of the set.
Yeah, a really, really sick card. All right, let's move on to Covetous Rivals. It's a 6 cost red ground unit. It's a
5
5/5
health.
bounty
Go to the
hunter.
next one.
Yeah. 5 health has grit. When played and on attack, you may deal 2 damage to a unit with a bounty.
I mean, it has a
It
one.
does have
point,
one-
so
yeah, it has a one
At
point.
least has that. Coach.
And on attack. So I'm going to bring up ECL again because apparently that's just the only card in the game. But
deal 4
deal
damage
4
to a
to
unit
something with a
with
bounty and deal 5 something. And if it lives, have a million attack.
easy.
Could be good. I don't know. It's probably not good, but
I like the Mandalorian army better, but this one's still cool.
I also like the Mandalorian armor better. The art on this, though, does look pretty sweet.
That's menacing.
I like the vibe, like the red background with like the blue card, like the blue art. Looks sick.
Where do you think they bought the smoke machine?
So one problem, if this was deal 3 damage to a unit with bounty, that'd be sick.
That'd be better.
because
Yeah, a
we've
lot
already
of the-
seen so many 1 costs that have bounty on them that are 3
Yeah.
health.
Well, you can play your
So-
own bounty.
You can play your own bounty.
Potentially.
So if they play something that has 2 health, then you could bounty it and kill it with this. I don't know if this is actually good though.
Yeah, I don't either. I think time will tell. I think this is like based on either 1, are there bounty hunter synergies? Like 2,
Yeah.
are there really good bounty cards that you want to play and immediately trigger? And I think that's kind of it. Like because I think we can all acknowledge that like a 6 cost 5/5 is not where you want to be.
Yeah, with grit's nice, but and also 2 damage on played is like Ruthless Raider is an incredible card because of that. And so
Sure. But it's
This
also a
has-
space
It's also
unit. It's a
doing-
4/6, and it deals
And
2 damage to
doing
your opponent's
2 to the
base,
mace.
and it does
Totally
it when
agree.
it dies. Like that
there's
card's
other
so
things
much
to
better.
it for sure. It's like when played
not
dealing
even
damage has so much
comparison.
value.
Yeah. I do agree with that. All right, well, that's all the spoilers we got for you guys today. We're gonna be at you real quick with another one that covers the rest of the spoilers that came out last week. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.